are listening to a special edition podcast. In this episode, Dinosaur George will be answering questions submitted by the listeners. If you would like to submit a question, call us at 210-888-9077 or go to the Ask Dinosaur George page at dinosaurgeorge.com. And now, here's Dinosaur George.
Well, hey everybody, it is so good to be back. I took off a couple of days and went down to the coast to go fishing, which I enjoy immensely. It's one of the things that I really like to do. Unfortunately, I had to cancel my vacation because of the hurricane that's coming in, looks like coming into the Texas coast. So I decided I would try to record one of these right now before the storm gets here to San Antonio, because it really looks like it's going to be a big deal. From everything I'm seeing weather-wise, it appears like it's going to be a really, really big deal. So I'm going to do just questions and answers on this particular podcast for all of you guys that listen and watch. Now, one thing I want to tell you before I get started, though, this is big news. On our website, we went in yesterday, and today's date, what is today? I don't even know what the day is. Hang on. I think it's Friday. Today is Friday, the 25th of August. Yes, it's Friday, August 25th. We went into the website last night, and we dropped prices on almost every single thing in our store. There's a lot of, we carry so many items, but unfortunately, after a while, we have too much. We have a warehouse filled with stuff. So we went in and cut the prices. And when I say cut the prices, I mean we reduced almost everything between 20 and 50% off. There are a lot of big skulls that are 45 and 50% off. You will never get the chance to buy anything like that again at that price, I can assure you. Now, it's whatever we have, we've got. Once we've sold out, that's it. It's not available anymore. So if anybody, and this sale, these prices I'm going to leave on until all the merchandise that we want to get rid of is gone. And when I say get rid of, I don't mean there's anything wrong with it. I just mean we've got too much. So this is a great opportunity. If you were looking to buy something, even if it's just one or two claws, they're all dropped at least 20%. So it's a great opportunity to get these things at a very reduced rate. You can go to the website, which is store.dinosaurgeorge.com. Go on there quick. Again, this stuff is limited. Some things we only have one of. So when we sell it, it's gone. Like we've got Deinonsuchus skulls. I think they're $100 off, which is nuts, man. But I know we have Deinonsuchus skulls. I saw we have Velociraptor skulls, Velociraptor feet, Velociraptor legs, Allosaurus hand, Allosaurus foot, Stegosaurus plates. Gosh, what else was back there? Giant prehistoric carnivorous dog skulls. I saw a saber-toothed cat. I saw 3 different species of saber-tooth, but the big Smilodon, I think we have 2 Smilodons left. A bunch of smaller saber cats. I think there's a little Panachosaurus, a little armored dinosaur, a little juvie skull. There's juvenile Protoceratops skull. There is stuff on there, like I said, that is absolute top quality stuff. But it is marked down to move, and like I said, you can't back order it. Unfortunately, if you place an order or if you go on and you see that it says it's out of stock, then that's it. We can't do back orders. So once it's gone, it's gone. So I would recommend jumping on there as quickly as you can if there is something you are interested in, or if you want to drive your poor parents. If you're a young person, you drive your parents or your husband or your wife nuts about it. Good luck. Okay, so while I was down at the coast, I was able to get a little fishing in, and I enjoyed it immensely. I also took my drone down there and took a bunch of video. I'm going to post that video on YouTube. Not everything I do is only dinosaur related. It's also science and nature related. So I decided to post that on YouTube. Some of you may see it and go, what the heck does this have to do with dinosaurs? It has nothing to do with dinosaurs. It's just something I like to do, and maybe other people will be able to visit my page and find out about me. And the more you help spread the word, the more viewers we get on YouTube and the more listeners we get on the podcast. So having said that, let's jump right into it. This is Craig from Toronto, Canada. Hi, DG. It's me, Mr. Triceratops. Finally, we know the name of the infamous Mr. Triceratops. Craig, it's so good to hear from you, buddy. He says, I have a question. Who would win in a fight, Deinonsuchus or Sarcosuchus? Craig says, I think Deinonsuchus because it has a more compact skull than Sarco. Well, Craig, I happen to agree with you. When you look at those two giant crocodilians, you see, I don't know if they're even considered crocodilians, but I'm just using that as a descriptive term. You see that Sarcosuchus has that long, skinny snout. That thing is not as powerful, in my opinion, as the short, compact, rounded snout of Deinosuchus. I think he would have more bite force because he's not distributing the bite down the entire length of that snout. So yes, I believe if those two animals ever met, I believe Deinosuchus would kill him. All right, Alexander from Vienna, Austria. Hello, Professor Blassing. Well, Alexander, it is so great to hear from you, my friend. I'm not a professor, even though I know some people use that as a kind of a nickname, but I am not a degreed paleontologist, so I don't deserve the professor part, but I certainly appreciate you being so courteous as to bestow that upon me. Alexander says, I hope you're doing well and enjoying summertime. I am, Alexander. You too, buddy. At least having some days off. That's right. His question is, there is a BBC video where a Spinosaurus and a Carcharodontosaurus meet, and Spino gets the advantage. I strongly would hear your opinion about it because he believes Carcharodontosaurus was the most powerful Allosauridae. Well, I agree with you, Alexander. Even though Spinosaurus has advantages of being bigger and longer and taller, it's just, in my opinion, not the same kind of body style to be effective as a way to be confrontational with the bigger animal. I believe Carcharodontosaurus is designed for big one-on-one fighting of other dinosaurs. So I do think Carcharodontosaurus would have advantages over fighting something like a Spinosaurus. He says, what else? Let's see. Thank you so much for your time and knowledge to share. He says, my nephew and I are great fans of your work, and I must translate everything you say in Austrian because he doesn't understand English. That's very kind of you, man. What a great thing to do. What a great thing. He says, I also want to thank you for your hints about young ones learning to read and behave. It's one pair of shoes when parents say it. It's another when a beloved paleontologist says it. Best wishes from Austria. May you come along to visit our museum in Vienna. They have an Allosaurus replica. Well, that alone, Alexander, two reasons why I want to come to Vienna. One, to see an Allosaurus and visit your museum, and two, to meet you. What a kind person you are, Alexander. Please tell your nephew that I said hello, and I'm glad that I can help. I can help do something to encourage him and possibly other young people to be better citizens, because that's all that's important. All right, Johnny from Finland. Johnny says, as we saw in third podcast episode, names of Finland cities are too much for non-Finns. Johnny, thank you. Thank you for saving me, Johnny. For those of you that may not know, sometimes I am horrible at pronouncing last names, first names in some cases, and cities, states, or towns where people are from. I am horrible about that. Johnny was so kind not to even force me to attempt it. So, Johnny, I am indebted to you, and thank you very much, buddy. He says, hey, George, remember me? Of course I do. Two things. Has there ever been, has they ever found fossilized baculums? I don't know how young people are listening to this. I don't know how young people are listening to this, so I'm not going to say what a baculum is. Well, I'll say what a baculum is there, Johnny. A baculum is a bone found in some animals that helps support the reproductive organ. And yes, baculum are found a lot. There's a lot of them, Pleistocene, Pliocene, Miocene, Eocene. A lot of animals had them, mammals. And so, yes, they are found. They do find them quite a bit. Second question is, Danny Vendramini's version of Neanderthal, is it valid or pure nonsense? You can find a video, Neanderthal Profiles of a Super Predator, on YouTube to see what I mean. Well, Johnny, I have not seen it, so I simply cannot comment intelligently on it. I haven't seen it. I'll try to see it. See, here's the problem, everybody, with these questions and answers. I walk in and I have a list of questions in front of me and I read them right then and there. I don't research them. I don't have time to go back and study them. So unfortunately, and by the way, those questions are selected randomly. There's not a trick. I will say this. If you submit a question on the Ask Dinosaur George page, be short and to the point. That helps, because sometimes the people that proofread these open them up and there's like a 5 or 6 or 7 page question. And it's just impossible to answer that much. So they pick those that are more direct and to the point. And so that's how they're chosen. So unfortunately, because of that, I have no time whatsoever to do any research. So I don't know, Johnny, about this particular video. But if I have a chance, I'll try to watch it and then comment on it intelligently. Thanks so much for writing to me from Finland, my friend. Most importantly, good to hear from you again. And thank you for not asking me to pronounce the name of your community. All right, Benjamin from Redwood City, the Bay Area in California. Hello, Mr. Blassing. Hey, Benjamin, nice to hear from you. Always call me George, DG, Dinosaur George, whatever you want. I appreciate your courtesy and respect, but please feel free to, and if you prefer Mr. Blassing, that's fine. Okay, first off, I want to say how much I've enjoyed your podcast. Hey, good. I'm a 32-year-old and I live in California Bay Area, and there's not much talk about paleontology out here. So what you do has made me feel like I am part of a vast community of people interested in the same things as I am. Well, that is great, great news, Benjamin. I'm glad to have you listening on our podcast or watching us on YouTube. I appreciate it. And I do hope that you feel like you are part of a family. That's what my page, that's what my podcast is about. Sharing information with people who all have the same interests and most importantly, treating everybody like family. So I'm glad you feel like you're part of it. And I'm glad that you listen. Okay, he says, I have 2 questions. But let me start off by saying that I started a website and Facebook dedicated to posting old and new discoveries and information about the prehistoric past. It's called JurassicJabber.com. Jurassic, JURASSIC JABBER, JurassicJabber.com. Hey, man, I'll try to go there and visit it. And for everybody watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, go check it out, man. Check it out and tell Benjamin, hey, if there's a way to contact him through it, tell him you heard about him through the podcast. He says, I post articles on my Jurassic Jabber Facebook and website in an attempt to further my education, as well as inform newcomers to the subject and get them excited about paleontology. That's what science is about, my friend. Sharing what we know. I even have links to your website and podcast on the website as well, and to Dr. Whitmer's lab and other university sites. Good for you, man. And thank you. That's very kind of you. So he says, my first question is, to your knowledge, what are the best and most current sites to get up-to-date information so I can post their articles on my site and page so that I can mention where they come from? So I can continue to pass the knowledge along to all those who are interested. Well, I'll tell you, there are so many good sites, but I would do this. I would look at, there's a couple of Facebook pages called Mesozoic Mind. I think there's one, I would follow Dr. Tom Holtz, Holtz. Don't try to friend him. He's got way too many friends now, but I think you can follow his page. You don't have to be a friend. I think you can follow his page. I believe he is always posting really good information, and that's a great resource as well. But other than that, I can't think of any that come to mind. There's just so many. I get so many. Most people contact me through Facebook and send me updates. So that's kind of how I get my updates of what's happening. Okay. Second question is for you is something I've been wondering my whole life, and there's only one who can answer this question for me. Hey, that's cool. There's never been anybody who can answer this question. At what point in the evolutionary process is there enough change in an animal or species to where it can be called a new animal or species? Wow. Hey, that's a great question, buddy. There's not a standard, to my knowledge. There's not a definitive standard where you can then say this animal has now evolved into this animal. And here's why, because of this, and this. I don't know if that standard exists. I don't know if one recognizable dramatic change is enough to justify a new species, or does it take a lot of changes to be able to do that? I don't know the answer to that. I do not know the answer to that. All I can tell you is that I think sometimes we are very loose with that, and we overreact by naming new species based on very slight evolutionary changes. For instance, if you look back at your great-grandparents, chances are they were very, very short compared to you. That doesn't mean we've evolved to a new species. That just means we've evolved to grow taller because we've been able to alter our environment. You know, we don't have to deal with the hardships they do. We have access to better food, better quality, more things like that. So therefore, our body is reacting by growing taller. Some of us growing outward as well. But we wouldn't list us as a new species. But sometimes I think we're guilty of that in the scientific world, where we find very slight variances and we apply a new species name to them. But that's a great question, Benjamin. Congratulations on JurassicJabber.com, JurassicJabber.com. I will try my best to go on there and find you on Facebook and take a look at your site. All right, Frank from Stratford, Connecticut. Hello, Mr. Blassing. I hope you're doing well. I am, Frank. Good to hear from you, buddy. My question is, since these two dinosaurs live together, who would win in a fight, Dakota Raptor or Nanotyrannus? Thank you for answering my questions, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Well, thank you very much, Frank. That's very kind of you. Always good to hear from you. I am having a good day. I tell you what, though, there's huge storms rolling in, and I suspect we'll be drenched and maybe flooded out in the next day or two, so we'll have to see how that goes. But for right now, I'm enjoying it. So Dakota Raptor and Nanotyrannus. Well, if the assumption is Nanotyrannus is its own species and that's as big as he's going to get, he's still probably too big for something like Dakota Raptor. Now, Dakota Raptor, I think, would be much faster, have much greater weaponry, probably had the advantage that it may have been an animal that was a pack animal, lived in a group, so that would have given it its advantage. But these two animals have enough size difference to where I don't think Dakota Raptor would attempt to take on a Nanotyrannus. Now, there's not a huge difference. And if a fight had to occur, let's say times are tough, there's one dead body and everybody's hungry, then I don't know, man. I think Dakota Raptor might have an advantage with its agility, its speed, and its weaponry over Nanotyrannus. I don't think Nanotyrannus would have probably done so well, but I do not believe that these two animals would have messed with each other had they, all right, let me take that back. I think Nanotyrannus would have chased away a Dakota Raptor because I think Dakota Raptor realizes it's got way too much to lose by staying and fighting with something like him. But it's a good question, and thank you, Frank, for writing to me, and I appreciate it. All right, Lillian from Freiburg, Germany. Hi, George. I recently discovered your podcast, and I'm amazed. Well, Lillian, what a very kind thing to say. I hope that you continue to listen over there in your beautiful country. You will have a new fan from now on. That is very kind of you, Lillian. Thank you. My favorite dinosaur, she writes, my favorite dinosaur is Torosaurus, which leads me to the problem that many scientists think it's just an adult Triceratops. Do you agree? I want to keep my beloved Torosaurus. Love, Lillian. Well, Lillian, I don't think you have to worry because I believe that your beloved Torosaurus is its own species, distinctively different from Triceratops. I don't believe Triceratops is a morphed version of Torosaurus. I just don't believe it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think enough evidence has been found that I would go out on a limb and say the majority of paleontologists do not think that those two animals are the same thing. I think they are distinctively two different animals. So, Lillian, I'm glad you like Torosaurus. I find it to be a fascinating dinosaur as well. And thank you so much for finding and listening to us. And I hope you continue to write in. Hi to everybody and your family and your friends there in Germany, Miss Lillian. All right, Crystal from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Crystal says, I watched a portion of episode 127 because you interviewed my nephew Cameron, and your discussion sparked a question. Have you discussed the recent discovery of dinosaur skin in any of your previous podcasts? Well, Crystal, first of all, welcome to the podcast. And Cameron was a hoot. He's always a lot of fun. I'm glad I got a chance to interview him. He was a very good kid. Good young man. He's not a kid. He's a great young man. So what a good question about dinosaur skin. We have not talked about it. I'm going to make a note to myself, And I'm going to make it a point to find an expert who I could bring in who will talk about dinosaur skin. I'll see if if anybody out there knows of a paleontologist who might be a good resource. Please post it on YouTube or post it on my podcast page and let me know his or her name. I would love the opportunity because I think, Crystal, this would be a very, very good podcast episode to talk about skin, how it's formed. So rather than me talk about it on this one, I think it would be better to find an expert who specializes in it, who could give us much greater detail. So, Crystal, thank you for taking the time to write to me. I loved my visit to Edmonton. I loved my visit to Alberta. And most importantly, I got to go to Jasper, and I fell in love with that place. So it was great. All right, David from North Carolina. Hey, Dinosaur George. Hey there, David. I was wondering why T-Rex is called Tyrannosaurus Rex when Deinonsuchus and Manospondylus were both names given to the same animal before Tyrannosaurus Rex. Thanks and have a great day. David, first time anybody's ever asked me about this. Here's the deal. Here's the rules in science, everyone. When somebody discovers a new species and they've demonstrated it's a new species and they've written the proper papers and gave it a name and that paper has been accepted by their peers, that becomes the scientific name for that animal. It's the reason why Brontosaurus is called Apatosaurus. Apatosaurus was found first. Brontosaurus was found second. They named Apatosaurus first. They named Brontosaurus second. But when they looked at it closely, they realized these were the same animals. And therefore, the one named first gets the name, and that's Apatosaurus. Same thing with Tyrannosaurus Rex. They found two different dinosaurs who one was named Deinonsuchus and the other was Manospondylus, and they turned out to be Tyrannosaurus Rex. So, if they were found first, why is Tyrannosaurus Rex the right scientific name? Here is my understanding of this. It is because in the scientific paper that was ultimately written, the word Tyrannosaurus Rex comes before Deinonsuchus and Manospondylus. That's my understanding. So because it appeared first, that name was then attributed to the dinosaur. The other two names came next, and therefore, in the eyes of science at that time, it is Tyrannosaurus Rex. That is my best explanation. I may be way off. I may be totally inaccurate with that comment, but that's my understanding. Is it fair? No. Am I glad? Yes. Because the idea of calling Tyrannosaurus Rex Deinosuchus just doesn't seem to have the same impact. See, that's when you put personal opinion ahead of science. It is the worst thing to do in science. And for everybody out there listening, shame on me for putting my opinion ahead of the importance of science. But that's just exactly what I did, and nobody can stop me. All right. Let's go into Zane from Bristol, Indiana. Hello, DG. How are you? Doing great, Zane. Good to hear from you. I was wondering if it would be possible for dinosaurs to create bioluminescence light in their bodies. Thank you and have a great day. What a cool question, Zane. What a cool question. Now, my understanding of creating bioluminescence is that it's only found in insects, some sea life, and some fish. Sea life meaning like cuttlefish and that kind of stuff. I think they can do it. I don't know what the proper term for those animals would be. They're not crab, but you know what I'm talking about. Invertebrates. That's it. Invertebrates. My understanding is bioluminescence, and for you young ones that may be listening or watching, bioluminescence means the ability to glow or make lights appear in your body. That's something that is limited in the animal kingdom, and therefore, since it is so limited, I don't believe that any dinosaurs would have had that ability. But there's absolutely no way of saying with any certainty, because I don't know if the evidence of bioluminescence could even be fossilized. I don't know if that's even possible, Zane. But what a very interesting question. What a cool concept that would be, to think that you could see a dinosaur who could flash lights either to attract, lure something in close to it, or or to scare something away or to communicate. I don't know if it's possible, but it would be cool. All right, Xander from, is this Beloit, Wisconsin? Or do you guys pronounce it Beloit? Sometimes the T is silent depending on what nationality named your town. So I'm just going to go with Beloit, Beloit, and I hope that's right. Wisconsin, my dad's from Wisconsin, so the last thing I want to do is offend anybody from Wisconsin, because the word will get back to my dad, because I know you people hang together very closely. You're like a giant mob, a mob of cheese-eating, partying Wisconsinites. There's nothing wrong with Wisconsin. I love it. So, Xander, don't squeal on me if I mispronounce your city name. All right. Which species of dinosaurs do you think Tyrannosaurus Jane was? Do you believe that she was a Nanotyrannus or a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex? Love Jurassic Fight Club and loving your interesting podcast. Can't wait for more podcasts to come out. Thank you, Xander. What a fine thing to say. What a kind person you are. Glad you like Jurassic Fight Club. I enjoyed making it. So, Jane, some people say it's a juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. Some people say it's its own species, Nanotyrannus. I've now seen 3 different specimens. I've not seen them personally, but images of 3 different juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rexes, which to me look absolutely clearly juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not like Jane. Jane looks different. Everything about Jane is different. Her skull is different. Her brain is different. Her teeth are different. So if we are to believe that Jane would morph into Tyrannosaurus Rex, if my understanding of the evidence I've seen is accurate, then it would mean you're born looking like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You grow up looking like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You stop for a minute, your brain moves, your teeth change, you get new teeth, different teeth, your head changes. Then later on, you go back to being a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So in my opinion, I don't think that's realistic. I believe that the changes that would have occurred just in the brain alone, it's a different shape and it's in a different position than a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Other than morphing insects and some morphing fish, what animal has ever completely changed the shape and position of its brain in its skull? I don't understand why there's such a big argument. Well, I do understand from one position. I know that there is a group of people who want Jane to be a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex because they believed that by making it a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex, it would set all kinds of amazing storylines of finding the first juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex. So I think part of the discussion, in my opinion, is that. But I don't believe that that Jane is. I think it is Nanotyrannus, if that's indeed the species, or maybe it's something even different from Nanotyrannus. But in my opinion, after looking at all the evidence and hearing time and time and time again, I am of the opinion that Jane is indeed a Tyrannosaurus. I mean, a juvenile. I mean, its own species. It is a Nanotyrannus, in my opinion. All right, you guys, I hope you all enjoyed listening to this podcast. I made it short because I got a boogie because there is potentially rains coming. So take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. Be kind to everybody. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And until next time, everybody, I'll see you.
Thank you for listening to the Dinosaur George Show. Please follow us on our social media links and join our mailing list. If you're interested in having Dinosaur George speak at your event, please visit our website at dinosaurgeorge.com. Until next time, keep digging for clues about the past.